Okay, I'm happy with introducing the second last teams. The name of team is CR, with the title Amendment to SDCW, Need for Educational Measure for Harassment and Bullying on Board. Let's give team a big hand.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Team CU. Do you recognize the importance of seafarers in our society? The job demand of seafarers is decreasing, and one of the main reasons is harassment and bullying. Therefore, we Team CU are now here to amend the SDCW in order to take educational measures for harassment and bullying on board. Harassment and bullying on board is directly related to the safety of the ship. There was this accident of Bow Mariner where 21 casualties and a significant amount of oil leak have occurred. The captain and chief engineer purposely did not train the subordinates who were all Filipinos. And due to the lack of familiarity, this following tragedy has happened. The second one is an accident of Maria M, where seafarers were all hostile towards the new master of the ship. Because of his personality, and for that reason, they intentionally did not inform everything to the master. And because of the lack of familiarity, the toxic leadership has happened and led to the grounding of the ship. These two cases are also caused by harassment and bullying and led to several unfortunate deaths of competent seafarers. Then what does harassment and bullying technically mean? The meaning of the harassment and bullying defined by International Transport Workers Federation is described as follows. First, harassment is a form of discrimination which has the purpose or effect of violating the dignity of a person and of creating an offensive environment. Secondly, bullying is a form of harassment that includes hostile behavior which can cause the recipient to feel threatened or intimidated. In order to clarify the definitions, ITF has suggested various examples, and these items on this slide are only a few of them. But if you think of harassment and bullying, these examples are the main ones. Whether it is before or after the defining of definition of harassment and bullying, there have been several relevant researches. International Maritime Charity Sailors Society and Yale University carried out a study of 1,000 seafarers and found that 26% of the participants have already experienced depression within only 2 weeks. Once the period of work time goes longer, as the human relationships aboard get more solidified, almost half of the entire seafarers worldwide who are experiencing harassment and bullying are likely to feel stronger depression sooner or later. This negative trend becomes worse and worse. Seafarers' Happiness Index, founded by Stephen Jones, declines by time, as this graph shows. According to the TDCs for IMO's strategic framework, increasing the seafarers' demand is one of the main goals of the IMO. Therefore, resolving the harassment and bullying problem will improve the seafarers' happiness and accordingly help meet the IMO's goal in seafarers' demand. However, the current legal documents are not showing sufficient provisions to manage the harassment and bullying problem. Our next presenter will explain the further details.
Thank you for your wonderful starting, Bomseok. Thank you, Chair. And good afternoon, everyone. I am the next presenter, Yewon Shin. Looking at the current international regulations, both IMO and ILO already have occupational safety and health regulations which are directly related to harassment and bullying in STCW, MLC, and SOLAS. But the regulated target is mainly divided into two. ISM Code and MLC consist of regulations upon shipping companies. On the other hand, STCW includes regulations mainly upon training institutions. MLC, which has already realized the seriousness of harassment and bullying, has adopted new provisions so that the shipping company is responsible for managing occupational accidents related to harassment and bullying and investigating the relevant accidents when needed. Accordingly, ISM Code, which includes section Occupational Safety and Health, is influenced by MLC, and therefore international regulations for shipping companies are sufficient enough. In fact, STCW hasn't yet proposed new provisions in order to educate promising seafarers about the general knowledge of harassment and bullying. Considering the worldwide universality of the STCW, the lack of clarification of education on human relationships made loopholes and brought hazardous shipping accidents. Next is system improvement, proposals, and guidance. Therefore, we have decided to include new provisions to the STCW and revise Section A2, 3, and 6. Section A2 mentions navigational watch officers. Section 3 mentions electrotechnical officers and engineering watch officers. And lastly, Section A6 refers personal safety and social responsibilities. Since the statement of education of working knowledge is not clear enough in the second column, knowledge, understanding, and proficiency, additional statement that reads, working knowledge of preventing shipboard harassment and bullying is needed. And in the same vein, guidance observance as a criterion shall also be necessary in the fourth column. The same applies to the section of engineering watch officers and electrotechnical officers that are all in the similar operational level. It may seem identical between the previous tables and this table, but this section only involves master and chief mates who are the leaders of vessels. Taking into account the high operational level, statement that reads knowledge of managing and addressing shipboard harassment and bullying is needed, including the following items such as abilities to prevent and handle harassment and bullying. The same amendment equally applies to the section of chief engineer officers and second engineer officers that is at the management level. Last but not least, all seafarers who are supposed to conduct basic training also need to be aware of the seriousness of shipboard harassment and bullying. As a result, seafarers are going to be able to support victims, avoid being perpetrator, and report incidents when harassment and bullying is identified by efficiently using the company's procedure. Next presenter is Seol-hee Lee, and please welcome her.
Thank you, Yewon. Hello, Hello, I'm the last presenter, Sohee Lee. So now you will see how we're going to deal with harassment and bullying in the C workplace. And by doing so, regulations are now specified and have gained universality. However, in order to practically deal with the problems, additional tools shall be actively used. Therefore, we are suggesting a new guidance for managing shipboard human relationships. First, let's see how workers answer this survey. According to this survey, leadership training stands as the only positive strategy in all effectiveness conditions to prevent and manage harassment and bullying. The real-life training seems to be the most pragmatic way to dose in the workplace. However, the most difficult problem that we might face when implementing leadership training is going to be the strategy to identify toxic leader by quantifying or at least comparing those workers' leadership skills. Therefore, we suggest a new guidance called Onboard Onshore Management System to provide new guidelines on handling relationship issues. This system requires all of the seafarers to fill out their basic information and leave comments, as this slide shows. When the ship is underway, all of the seafarers are supposed to report regularly to the company, and in any case when suspicious conducts are done, and also at the end of the voyage, and in any case there is a change in compositions of seafarers. Adding comments is a simple but certain and direct way to monitor the working environment and assess leadership skills. So by forcing the workers to keep the report of the relationships in their workplace, the employee relations manager can be aware of the situation on the ships and can regularly assess the leadership of each seafarer, therefore eventually make changes of seafarers or educate them when needed. By applying the system, the company can detect harassment and bullying on board and assess leadership skills of seafarers. Moreover, seafarers may feel sheltered from any kind of shipboard abuse, which brings an increase of job demand of seafarer. So in conclusion, because of the ship accidents worldwide, harassment and bullying issues have risen to the surface. ILO has realized the importance of prevention and management of harassment and bullying in the workplace. Therefore, the organization has adopted necessary provisions. On the other hand, STCW and SOLAS haven't yet included specific related regulations. But taking into account the close relationship between ISM code and MLC in occupational health and safety, the regulations on the shipping companies are changing rapidly in a positive way. However, since numerous accidents resulting from harassment and bullying still occur, new kind of resolutions in educational way should be suggested. Thus, by having education and training, seafarers will fully realize the seriousness of harassment and bullying on board. So they will put every effort to fully eradicate harassment and bullying, and as a result, form a harmonious working environment of well-trained seafarers. So imagine that you are the victim of harassment and bullying in the middle of Pacific Ocean, and there's no one who's on your side. What will you do? What can be done? So education and training for seafarers is the only way to eliminate harassment and bullying on board. if a tinsy bit doubt is coming into your head, wondering if it is that serious, you cannot be free from potential bystanders. If worse, potential perpetrators. So thank you for spending time with us, and this was Team CU.
Okay, thank you again, Team CU, for your nice presentation. Okay, Q&A session will be presided over by Mr. Park, please.
Okay, thank you for your interesting presentation. So now is our Q&A time. Who's first to have questions? Okay, C. Fongon is first, and second is the C. Beyond. Okay, C. Fongon first.
Thank you, Chair, for giving us opportunity to make a question. So my question is, there are training in leadership and teamwork in STCW Manila amendments, and it is applied from this year. So all of Maritime University students take the leadership class from this year. We suggest that we should wait until is it working or effective or not? How do you think of this opinion?
I don't know if I understand your question clearly, but from what I understand is that the maritime college students are
Not only
on
the
leadership.
not only the Maritime University student, but I think all of the
Seafarers,
Yeah,
potential
seafarers.
seafarers, right?
yeah.
And they're
From
on
this year, they are taking the class for the
leadership.
leadership and teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think we have to wait until is it effective or not for harassment and bullying.
The reason why we put this new provisions is because there already exists the provisions about leadership or teamworking skills, but clarification of the word terminology harassment and bullying, we think it is urgently needed because the previous case 3 and 4 accidents are happened in 2017. It really currently happened, so that's why we are thinking that the existing provisions are not enough. So that's because we put these new provisions. So
So I understand what you have mentioned. So, but the point of our presentation is that from what we investigated, that is that there's lack of clarification about harassment and bullying, not the effectiveness of the actual leadership training program. So we thought that there's lack of clarification, so we added up the phrase harassment bullying in STCW and add guidelines. Is that okay for you?
Thank you for your answer.
Okay.
Okay, next to the question, the CBN. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, CU, for your presentation. I have a question regarding your proposals for the onboard onshore management system and the last few slides. And I think that when seafarers are traveling, it is a very closed and isolated environment. So, and also recently, the seafarers are in a very multilingual and multicultural context. So I thought that your system might not be very feasible when seafarers are doing very isolated tasks and do you have any suggestions for making sure that this is not just a formality and that it has real effects?
There already exists a similar system in several companies, and this this picture on the left side shows that employee relations manager is his he or she is regularly reported by the ship, and it is true that harassment bullying is caused by mainly by the cultural difference and the difference between the cultures between countries, and we don't really think that the causes of the harassment bullying really affect the effectiveness of this guidance.
Can we have a minute, please?
So what I understand is that you're saying that the system seems like it only exists in like on paper, right? Yeah. So what we have said, what we have presented before is that they will report by like using internet to the company, and then get feedbacks and get feedbacks regularly. So I don't think that will affect the system. Is that?
What I was trying to say is that when seafarers are out at sea, they are closer with their crewmates than with their employee on shore. So I wasn't sure if they would be able to report their harassments in a very honest way, but I understand what you're trying to say, and thank you.
Oh yeah, and to just add up, this system doesn't only mean this doesn't only exist when there is harassment and bullying in the workplace. It's just saying that it's just to like quantify their leadership skills, like if they just to quantify leadership skills, not only in human relationships.
Can I have interventions to the related questions? And so it's different situation, working conditions on board, and so sometimes to the seafarer and have sometimes to is filling out to the jump out to the sea, for example. And so this kind of system is to the precautionary of some accidents, the kind of the accidents. And so I think it is important thing. And so the seafarer is maybe this kind of the system protecting and plan to action, and it is more development, this kind of the system, I think so. And so any questions more? Okay, to the Mercy first and the Seagull second. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Chair. It was a very good presentation, but I have one question about the feasibility of the amendment done. I personally think that education alone cannot help on-board harassment. The thing is, right now, that in a lot of maritime education organizations, they already have maritime education, leadership and teamwork subjects. So if these kind of subjects increases, many students will focus on just getting the grade instead of learning the actual goal of the subject. So my question is, do you have any real life practices, or if you do, will these kind of real life practices can be commercialized in educational universities?
Could you wait for a moment?
Okay, some now is a time constraint, and so briefly your answers. We're gonna answer to your.
So this system is not only for the students to get grades. It's for all potential seafarers. So and also in Penn Ocean, I've heard that the similar system is implemented, and they're using it to prevent harassment and bullying in the workplace. Similar
Okay,
system.
Thank you for your answer.
Answer to briefly now is overtime. Yeah, briefly question.
Thank you for the presentation. We think that the system is crucial for harassment and bullying issues, but we are concerned that what if there is a retribution due to the assessment? Is there any measures on that?
Can you repeat that again, please?
What if there is a retribution due to the assessments? That the page 23, there is the system improvement guidance. Looks like the assessments on the seafarers, and due to this assessment, like if someone said that they are not intimate, they might retribute like revenge. What if there is a revenge on that assessment?
There already exists the system where the confidentiality is kept enough that no other subsequent retribution. So.
And the report is going to be anonymous, so the company's going to make sure that no one knows who wrote what.
Thank you for the answer.
Okay, now is very much over time to have a questions time, and so it is better to close to the question and answer time. Thank you for see you. Philip.
Okay, thank you again. The team, see you. Please come to your seat.